think we got there.
We did.
Are we on?
I think we are. Somebody go to YouTube.
Absolutely.
I'll go to YouTube.
Welcome to episode 2. We're only 9 minutes late.
It's okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Again, episode 2. Reiterate.
Yeah, episode 2.
You know, we're in episode 2.
So welcome to Fuck, this movie.
Yes, it's live on YouTube.
There we go.
Yeah,
Look at
welcome
that, guys.
everyone.
We got there.
There are 3 people in the room.
Yeah.
To my right, owner and proprietor, Take Action Tattoo, John Brown.
Hi, I'm John. John Brown here.
Yeah.
Anybody I've ever tattooed is listening to this. We've already talked a lot.
About a lot of movies. He's learned a lot about movies by recommendations from people who like ink.
I tell people about movies. I aggressively talk to my clients about movies.
Hell yeah.
To my left, we have Reese
That's me.
Anweiler, who I think I over-announced you last time. Like, you don't own as much of the Criterion Collection as what you let on. It's like a very small percentage.
Technically,
You only own like a few hundred.
I would say that I'm in the 1% of people on Earth who own the Criterion Collection. Yes, I only own about
I own one now.
a fifth. There's not a lot of people that own more than a handful.
I own one. I'm at one.
Well, you got a
How
lot
many
to
did
catch
you
way
up.
up.
I have a lot too. But
I'm Dustin Holler. I worked at
I have
Blockbuster for a lot of
77.
years, which ages me. But and I've been a film fanatic for a long time.
I assume since
So
childhood.
we are
'cause that's
there-
when I was
we are
became a
therefore
film
qualified.
fanatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been into film since, but like you don't really get into film until you see that one movie. Everybody has that like that kind of movie that opens up your eyes to the full focus.
Full scope.
It's your epiphany movie. Everybody's got their epiphany film.
Well, the core origin of it too, from just like being raised the way you are, getting like movies into place in your home. You know, growing up as a child has sparked that to actually define that epiphany movie. That's super important too.
Yeah.
Like film's a whole experience for sure.
I think my family growing up never had cable. We only had like DVDs and shit. And so we were always looking for, especially before streaming services, we were always looking for movies to watch, especially like family appropriate movies and stuff. And then you're just doing those digging for good, worthwhile, family appropriate movies.
There's definitely always a movie that kicks you and just
Yeah.
fucking hooks you. And lets you see the scope of things.
Yeah.
To really appreciate what film really is.
My family would always rent movies like 4 at a time, and then like VHS, and then record them onto blank tapes. And we had like a whole library of like blank tapes that were appropriately labeled with what 2 movies were on them, but it was always 2 movies that didn't go together at all. You know, so it was like you see like The Secret of My Success, and then Tank would be the other half of it. You know? It was some weird shit like that. So what have you guys been watching? Anything over the last 2 weeks or anything this week that interesting?
We got to see something that you saw it too now. Yeah,
What?
we got to Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
So you get to see Evil Dead.
Oh yeah. I
It's
think we've all
fantastic.
seen Evil Dead now.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Saw that in the watched Citizen Kane for the first time. We
Yeah.
were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Super good.
Yeah. What did I just watch? I watched John Mulaney's new special, which some people might not consider that a movie, but it's very funny on Netflix. Baby J.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I watched something off your recommendation, Reese. I had seen the first installment of the newest Planet of the Apes trilogy. Like I think I saw it in the theater actually, and like I didn't actually realize it was a reboot. I just thought it was kind of like a prequel.
Yeah.
And like they just kept coming out with more and more Planet of the Apes movies, and I was just kind of like over it. And you told me that you thought that they were all like really, like those last 3 were really good. So I did watch. I rewatched Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and then I watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And you were right; they were actually pretty good.
Oh yeah. They look fantastic too, right?
Yeah.
Like the effects have. I mean, obviously from the first one, maybe the least, but even the second one, the effects are just outstanding.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the point of this podcast is every week we're gonna basically pick one movie the week before, and we're gonna sit down and watch it, and then we're gonna spend most of the podcast talking about said movie. Last week was this week I guess it was actually Reese's pick, and he chose The Iron Giant, which I had never seen.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a little bit prejudiced against animated films, right?
Yeah, like a little bit. I don't have kids, so that's part of
I don't either.
Rebuttal to that.
Just for that information. I don't either have kids.
That's fine. But you are one.
And I'm like 12 years younger than you.
Yeah, you're just a kid.
Yeah.
You like stuff like you said. It's for babies.
Well, and the bit was you liked it though.
Yeah,
you enjoyed it.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
right?
we'll get to that. We'll get to
that.
I
mean, it's a hard movie to deny. You can of course, there's always a matter of palate for any kind of art that you're dealing with. And everybody's got different palates, man. Not everybody likes spicy food. Not everybody likes family appropriate films,
Yeah.
So that is a real thing for sure. But it is definitely a very quality film. Speaking of just the filmmaking of said film, I thought it was fucking impeccable.
Yeah, on a technical level, I think it's just flawless
for what it is.
Yeah, I realized something while rewatching it today. I've actually seen the movie before because I think it's actually technically a remake.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I'll let you kind of walk us through the movie, and then once you're done,
Can I guess what is the movie you think it's a remake of a Steven Spielberg movie?
It is,
because I also watching the documentary thought about how much similarities it has with E.T.
About Johnny Five.
I was talking about E.T.
Oh, E.T.
It has a lot of similarities.
Like when you think
to
about it, it's literally E.T.
Yeah, it's better than E.T.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the same. I don't want to spoil it.
Talk to us. This conversation is a fun thing for the announcement of my pick or the movie I'm gonna.
Okay, so we'll put this on. We'll come back around to why this movie is E.T.
Yeah,
and I also have a fun story about my childhood to talk about because E.T. was actually the second movie I saw in a theater. So
wow.
One of my favorite theater experiences from when I'm young, and this is going to sound goofy because a lot of people shit all over this movie, and I actually fucking super enjoy the movie I'm about to name. That movie is Waterworld.
I love Waterworld.
Dude, I super enjoy it. It's a fucking fun-ass movie, and I remember before...
I've been waiting so long to say this, but fuck that movie.
I know you do. I know you would say that.
Fuck that movie.
See, I love Waterworld. I hate Kevin Costner.
See,
I think he's the most bland actor in the world.
I don't think so.
But I do.
Kevin Costner is very one note. I do think
not gonna
that
say. So I'll agree that he's one note. I'm not going to say that he's bland. That one note.
He's kind of bland.
Yeah.
He's kind of bland.
He is what he is, man. He is what he is.
I do have some of his films that I like, and we will possibly be watching one of them in the future.
There's definitely Kevin Costner films that are important to me. For sure.
He's definitely been in a range of genres.
But anyway, I had a really awesome, just before I moved out here from Nevada, it was one of the last movies I remember us seeing in theater back then I was like 9 or something. And it was just a fun ass movie. Yeah. Another really good one for me was Fifth Element. I remember going to Fifth Element with my mom and seeing that movie twice. Yeah. In a row. I could say we just
Waterworld's the most ridiculous piece of shit I've ever. I swear to Christ.
I love those.
Rewatch that and see if you still like it.
It's ridiculous as fuck. I know.
There's an action bungee jumping sequence.
It's a cartoon.
Where I can't remember. They're in a fucking hot air balloon or some shit.
Yeah.
He ties a rope around his feet and jumps off and saves some kid or something. Right? It's like.
It's a fucking.
He would have fucking died. like the rope just happened to be long enough for him to reach down and grab the kid and then bounce back
That's not
up.
even the worst of it.
I know that's the sad.
No, I'm just saying in that situation, the rope, the idea that fucking wacky ramshackle thing, this rope is attached to, would even support that physical happening. That motherfucker would just fall off or. Thing would go.
Was Waterworld the movie we were doing this?
I believe Waterworld was if not his last, one of Dennis Hopper's last movie was Waterworld.
We were just sharing some things there. But back to the Iron Giant.
Yes.
Let's keep us on point here.
We're doing the plot synopsis now?
Yeah. Walk us through it. What is the Iron Giant?
Technically, as we did last time.
Okay.
Yeah, what is the Iron Giant? That's really the question.
Iron Giant is a 1999 film directed by Brad Bird. It's his first, his directorial debut, feature length.
He's a long-time Simpsons guy.
Yeah, he was
on the Simpsons for
one of his first professional things was he's a co-showrunner on the Simpsons, which I think definitely get some of that comedy comes through in this movie.
He's been hanging out with Conan O'Brien for several years. You're gonna pick some shit up.
But since then, he's directed both the Incredibles movies. Ratatouille and Mission Impossible 4 Ghost Protocol, among other things.
Fuck that movie.
Mission Impossible 4? The last Mission Impossible I saw was a piece of shit for sure. I don't know which one it was, but it was a piece of shit.
Mission Impossible 4 was the first live action movie he ever directed, which is kind of impressive that they gave him such a big budget right off the bat.
Right.
For anyone who wants to watch the movie before we talk about it, I don't think it's the kind of movie that's really going to suffer from spoilers.
Yeah,
I think that's a matter
we
of
always,
perception too.
We always want to say there will be spoilers. We're going to go through the whole movie.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, which I think I'm the only person that hadn't seen it in the world. Hit stop. Come back to this after you watch the movie. It's only like 86 minutes. So
Yeah,
it'll take much of your life.
super quick. But it's not streaming anywhere. It's available to purchase on, Vudu, Apple, Amazon, all the normal places. But it's not on a streaming service.
Get it on Apple. It's like $2 cheaper.
It's based on a 1968 book by Ted Hughes called The Iron Man.
Yeah.
That was a British book. Apparently a pretty well-known British book. And
I wish I would have known that. I would have made an effort to read it.
Yeah.
I had that thought for as we do this, if it's based on a book, to read the book.
I wonder why they changed the name.
It's pretty obvious. Yeah, in the book, even the American distribution of the book was The Iron Giant as well. So even in the 60s, they thought Iron Man would be too much of a competition.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Sabbath was rampant at that time.
That's true. That's true. It was probably more of a contributing factor. The movie has a really interesting production journey. I don't know if we'll get to that today, but it's definitely worth looking into. Peter Frampton originally wanted to turn it into a musical,
a rock opera,
and he's even he's an executive producer on the final movie. But
so I'm glad he didn't do that.
Yeah, that would have been.
I don't know what that would have looked like.
I actually, before you jump into this, one of the things I appreciate about this movie is it's not that. Yeah. It's not like
it's just a film.
In the 90s, like Disney dominated family films, and the fact that it's not like they don't stop and break into song at any point. I actually really enjoy that. But anyway, continue.
That was honestly in the documentary I watched today. Brad Bird gives a speech to his whole production company crew about how this is not going to be a Disney movie. We're not going to have singing. We're not going to have dancing. We're not going to have little talking animals. Right. This is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be lazy. I'm just going to take the plot from Wikipedia.
Just
I'll edit it.
Steal it from Wikipedia. That's just stealing from everybody.
If I complain about it, I'm not complaining calling out one specific person.
Oh, I really enjoyed last episode talking shit about some fool.
We're probably gonna make it a point to do that every time.
I'm gonna find some other jackass.
Find the worst review you possibly can.
So the movie starts off in Maine, which I don't know. Does it ever say Maine?
I think so. Yeah. I remember Maine.
I mean, it's
you're very
the coast and there's a lighthouse.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know?
Yeah. During the Cold War, I think specifically 1957.
Yeah.
Maine, in a fictional town called Rockwell, which is very obviously named for the fact that the aesthetic of the movie is very Norman Rockwell inspired.
Very much so.
So we opened on a dark and stormy night when a fisherman is lost out in the ocean and thinks he sees a lighthouse, but it turns out the lighthouse has two lights.
First he sees this thing. First he sees this comet crash.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He sees this thing rip through the sky and land, and he writes it off. Or he doesn't see it land, but he sees it rip through the sky, and then,
It's a really great scene. The perspective shift
super powerful,
up into the silhouette of the giant.
The usage of the lighting in the background, him coming out, and waves were a good way to break that up too. Just him coming out of behind a wave as it strikes into the shadow.
Yeah, he's on some very turbulent water. This storm
water.
is crazy.
The following night, Hogarth Hughes investigates and finds the object that crashed.
Did we say that the object was in fact a giant, not a lighthouse?
It looked like a giant.
Yeah.
It looks like a giant, yeah.
The guy's boat smashed against it.
Real quick, I don't think it ever says in the movie, at least I wasn't paying attention enough, that how old Hogarth is. Does it say how old he is?
I don't think so. And that's actually the thing I am worst at in the world is guessing a child's age.
See, I just think
they're all like 9.
Yeah, I think that's for that kind of character.
Yeah,
in this kind of movie.
I think that through the whole movie, I was thinking this guy's like 12, and he's like a really mature, intelligent 12-year-old.
Right.
He's 9. The character is 9.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nine.
Which might be
I would
the
have been
most
right for the first
unrealistic part of the movie. He's like such a thoughtful kid.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, it depends on the kid, man.
Yeah.
It depends on the kid. It was a different time.
Some of the things that he says, he's a very advanced 9-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
so, like he does say some like really clever things.
The bit is he's the reclusive kid.
Yeah.
The
He's the weird
kid.
kid.
He's
yeah.
the kid that spends all his time alone reading. So it's those kids that are those guys, you know, the ones
All right.
that are a little bit ahead of the curve, you know. So I think
Okay,
that
so
tracks
he's a
well.
very smart 9-year-old.
Yes. The following night, he investigates and finds the object, which is a 50-foot tall alien robot.
50
he
foot tall?
doesn't-
I think it was closer to 100.
It's got to be taller than that.
Yeah, it's 100. I'd say it's 100.
But the size definitely fluctuates a bit in the movie.
Yeah.
That's one of the only problems.
Yeah, I mean, not super gratuitous.
When you first see him in the water, he's like enormous.
Well, because the one shot that
man.
really stands out is when
He's standing in the
town
water and like
and he crashes into a building. He's like the same height as the building, and then it cuts to outside the town.
and he's like towering
the
above.
military sees him, and he is like towering over every single building. Which
I think
that's
for the
probably
sake of I think that's a forgivable scene.
Yeah. I
Just
think
to
so.
make it. Again, to make it a presentable, impactful image, like you do that with art sometimes. You skew things, just to make sure that you get the visual effect.
So it reads properly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it reads.
Yeah.
And I think outside of that, though, I think it did.
I'm gonna dig him for some scale
pretty
issues.
good job. The only other time that I would say was questionable was the. Well, we'll get to it later.
Yeah. Continue.
He runs away, but then he runs away from the robot, but then returns to save the robot when he's electrocuted while trying to eat the transmission lines of an electrical substation.
Which is a super dramatic scene.
Super great.
Yeah, it is a super dramatic scene.
And actually, because it was. I hate reading from one of these things. It just like sterilizes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm having to add a few things because like this sounds like
I
a
had
medical
so
journal.
much. I had so much.
But like with that happening, it's him going through the woods, super brave, does the whole thing.
Yeah.
Fucking wraps up a flashlight around his BB gun.
Yeah.
Fucking pot on the head. Or no, he had to have an actual helmet, just striking out through the woods like a badass. And it was hilarious too because the flashlight on the gun, I mentioned this to Dustin afterwards. I mentioned the movie, I don't know if you know what I was talking about, but the flashlight's head was like 4 inches wide. And he just duct taped the body of the flashlight directly to the barrel, so he was not going to shoot anything with that.
Yeah. I also got to go back because I realized this once again, this description has cut out so much. It cuts out the entire sequence in the diner where you introduce the entire cast.
Oh,
yeah.
You meet Dean, Dean McCoppin, who's a local eccentric artist.
McCoppin.
It's McCoppin.
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 Goddamn.
He's a local kind of eccentric artist who runs a scrap shop. And you also meet Annie Hughes, which is Hogarth's mom, working long shifts at a diner.
She's a MILF for a cartoon chick.
Oh, yeah.
For a cartoon
definitely,
chick.
Definitely.
Probably helps if she's voiced by Jennifer Aniston. And this is like, what do you say, 1999 Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah.
That's like peak Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, I had feelings towards her growing up.
Yeah.
As a child, she was formative for me.
She always showed her nipples, even when she didn't.
Oh, I meant the mom in this, not Jennifer Aniston.
I meant Jennifer Aniston. Okay, anyway.
It's like, I don't remember any nipples in this movie. So Andy has to work late. Hogarth is home alone. He's watching scary movies. He sees something happen. That's
instructed not to, of course.
Yeah.
That was a cool, fun scene too. Like none of this, and just immediately he's
cuts to doing all the things he told not to do.
Deep and watching horror movies, popcorn, tent made, just fucking
eating Twinkies.
Yeah.
So then, he's watching TV alone, home at night. He hears a noise on the roof. He goes to investigate. He goes to the power station. Then this scene happens.
This is really the first cue that this kid has like balls of steel. Because
Yeah.
I definitely thought it a couple times, but like this is a fearless kid. He's just oh fuck, I'm 9 years old. There's a loud, angry sound. I'll go investigate.
Yeah.
We get that perception a lot from older movies from different ages. You see it in the 80s for sure, and you see it a lot. And I don't know if it tracks. We'd have to have like a fucking 7-year-old here to.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gone when I was 9.
9-year-old, I had to strike out in the woods.
Yeah,
I remember when I was that old. I had an outdoor dog, and I'd have to like if I forgot to feed the dog early, I'd have to go out at night, and I was like terrified. To go out like all the way into the like back end of the property and feed the dog. Like it was like terrifying. I'd like run back.
Yeah, you ever do the thing as a kid where you take the trash out of the trash can at night and you kind of walk up and put it in the can and then just bolt back to your front door?
Yep,
for sure.
Yep, absolutely. I used to actually like try to. Like I got cute a few times. I'd try to like swing it from the porch to the can, and it just like fucking explode. So I'd be out there, like pitch black, trying to pick up garbage.
Yeah, no, this kid's definitely got some balls, and you see some much more epic scenes. But yeah, just the journey through the woods, and I really enjoyed that, especially because this kid sees, and that's one thing that in the movie there's always like. No one gets that there's an Iron Giant whenever somebody tells. There's always like a natural reluctance to believe the crazy thing that's happening. Yeah. They do that through the movie, but immediately, like, there's no way to do that because it's a fucking Iron Giant.
Yeah.
So, like, you're in the woods and, like, hey, there's a path miles long of a just specific road that's been paved miraculously. And this kid in the middle of the night sees that. That's definitely the key that he has balls of steel. Like, oh, shit. Let's keep looking around. Let's find where this goes.
Yeah. Yeah. He runs away, but then returns to save the robot when he's electrocuted while trying to eat the transmission lines.
And this is also when we learn that the robot eats metal, right?
Yes.
Like we see he's like eating
very
metal.
Simply establishing
metal.
that he eats metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just happens to eat the wrong metal.
A lot of the layers of the concept of the creature that he is just super fun.
Yeah.
Like, he just eats metal.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't go anywhere.
Doesn't need to explain it.
He throws a rock in him.
Yeah.
In a coming up scene in his mouth after he passes out from, getting electrocuted, and it's just like cavernous. Just like like he is just he's of infinite depth.
Yeah. Hogarth eventually befriends the giant, finding him docile and curious. Again, that's skipping a lot.
Yeah, that's skipping a lot. I just want to talk about the image of the giant.
It's
like when you
the flavor of
the like the Iron Giant himself. Like he's got like, I like how he's like technologically doesn't look super advanced, right? Like he's like a very clunky looking robot.
Oh yeah,
it's like
classic.
He's like a kid's drawing of what an alien robot would look like.
It's very true to that era of science fiction.
Yeah,
like old science fiction from the fucking early 1900s up to the 50s and 60s was fucking dorky, man.
So clean and doesn't need to like explain how it works. It's just like
And with him especially, you have to absolutely just like it's all assumed, and it's just naturally ridiculous too. Like, what the fuck does he need to eat metal when it apparently just doesn't go anywhere? It just like evaporates. It just stops existing.
Yeah, we never see it shit out any of this metal at any point during the film.
But yeah, no, there's he's very classic old school.
I really like
design, and that's fun.
I really like his his bottom jaw kind of juts out a little bit, and so like it kind of makes it look like he's got an underbite.
Yeah,
and like.
Well, that's the other thing. His jaw has bolts on it, but it really moves kind of.
No, there is no connection attempted to be established visually on the giant. Like it literally just floats.
Yeah.
In a scene coming up, that's a point on that is when he gets hit by the train. We'll skip ahead. Fuck it.
Yeah. He gets hit by a train.
It's pretty soon after.
Real quick, I want to say if anyone's familiar with the movie, I think it's a Disney movie, The Rocketeer.
Yeah.
I barely remember anything.
Yeah,
I remember.
But the helmet.
I remember
setting
like
and stuff.
flashes of scenes.
Yeah, it's very similar.
That movie's directed by Joe Johnston. Brad Bird did some like concept work on that movie.
Sure.
Joe Johnston was actually the designer of the final look for the Iron Giant.
Oh, right on. Yeah, no, that tracks for sure.
He's got a look.
Yeah, he's only got one idea of what a robot is. Apparently.
So the next day, Hogarth goes out in the woods with a camera trying to find the giant, and then he does eventually find the giant and starts kind of getting the hang of him and figuring out that he's kind of friendly. Yeah, I think it's then they establish he's got like a dent.
Yeah, the robot kind of mimics his movements. Like he's you can tell he's curious.
Yeah.
Like
I think it's a pretty traditional like illustration of. Like he's not just mimicking me. He's not even necessarily just a child. He's just unaware of like everything.
Yeah.
And the pacing is pretty good because he picks up pretty fast, and there's not a lot of time wasted on him not understanding. Like, he gets it immediately. They immediately start, communicating because they're doing it in the appropriate ways with hand signals and shit like that. But,
Yeah.
So when he's trying to teach him, like, because he starts trying to teach the robot things like almost immediately, and like that's actually some of the funniest sequences.
Oh yeah.
Like
super fun. Tree rock.
Like there was something he told him to say. It was like and he's just like,
He goes, talking, blah, 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 blah. And he goes,
yeah. It was like not even close to love. I was just like, yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, I definitely got a chuckle out of that one.
Yeah. Okay. So the night goes on. When he eats railroad tracks in the path of an oncoming train, the train collides with him and derails. Hogarth leads the giant away from the area, discovering that he can self-repair.
Yeah, that was a pretty intense scene when he kind of teaches him on the fly, like, "Hey, man, you're about to fuck up a whole train full of people, And so, like, the kid trying to communicate to the giant that this is something that needs to be fixed right away.
Yeah.
And then what's funny is once the giant starts fixing it, he actually gets the track back down and in the general area. But he's got like a perfectionist. There's like an area of like, oh, it's just off by just a tinge, and like he gets hit by the train because he was completely unaware of it and was like trying to be perfect and getting that track down.
But I thought that was another scene that really displayed how emotionally mature Hogarth is, where he's completely aware that they've put the train in danger and they need to fix it.
This is a big fucking deal. People's lives are at stake.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing, when he gets hit by the train, he loses a couple body parts.
Yeah. He gets disassembled a pretty good amount.
And we see that like the body parts kind of have like he's got like a remote on his head that kind of signals to the body parts, and it like they immediately start crawling their way back to him to put itself back together.
Yeah.
Which is kind of important for later in the film.
It's interesting. I mentioned this to Dustin after we watched it. Just this scene as a utility scene to just kind of set the pace for things. Is like it's interesting that this disassembled him, but so many things didn't.
Yeah, there are a lot of things later in the film that like you would think would have also made him lose some body parts, but he doesn't.
But I mean, it was important to establish it, and it made a really funny scene. Which is
so much.
And back to the thing not mattering in that scene. After he gets himself put back together, the last thing is the screw, and he puts it in his jaw because his jaw is loose. But again,
it like makes no difference.
It means absolutely nothing. Like the best you could do is like I guess the screw is a certain magnet that magnetizes another thing in his head that keeps the jaw up here and not just completely loose on the one side, but still like not connected at
all. While they hide the giant in the barn, and then while there, Hogarth shows the giant comic books and compares him to the hero Superman. I also really appreciate that they were able to use actual Superman and not like some license-free version.
For sure.
And there was also like another comic book there that was kind of like
Atomo.
Atomo, this like
bad
like
guy
kind of
robot.
Bad guy robot, and like there was a quick moment where the Iron Giant kind of like shows some interest in it, like, oh, what's this one? He's like, you don't want that one. It's Superman. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
Like immediately start putting that in his head.
Yeah. The incident leads a paranoid U.S. government agent named Kent Mansley to Rockwell. He suspects Hogarth's involvement after talking with him and his widowed mother, Annie. See, it's just introducing all the characters out of order. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're skipping a lot of the introduction too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets introduced to this guy.
Yeah. This is just the
like three times,
facts, I guess. Yeah.
Like three times.
Kent Mansley, you work for the government.
Yeah.
That's wasn't gonna say that.
That's another spot where the kid, like, to me, that's not something a 9-year-old would do. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, the voice acting on that kid though, so good. I don't know if he's been in anything else, but fantastic voice work from the actor. His name is Eli Marinthal.
Well, yeah, it was like a film with Eli Marinthal. Big fan of his work.
He suspects Hogarth's involvement after talking with him and his widowed mother, Annie, and rents a room in their house to keep an eye on him.
So this is after he's introduced. Yeah, so this skips the whole thing where he's actually investigates the scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... That sets that character up a lot and sets up this scene.
Yeah.
Annoying. He ends up finding earlier. He has already found a BB gun, which is the boy's BB gun.
Yeah, it's kind of like destroyed.
But he hasn't connected that yet.
It's got what's his name?
Hogarth Hughes,
Hogarth.
but all that's on the rifle is Hog Hug.
Yeah, Hog Hug. Yeah, he didn't have the whole story yet.
Yeah, that was a very fun scene too.
This is also where we see like some farmers with some damage, right?
Yeah,
like,
a tractor.
There's actually there's a farmer trying to sell a tractor, and like this guy's like, that thing has a bite out of it, and he's like, that's why I'm trying to sell it. It has a bite out of it.
Yeah, the town's response to like shit that they should just be like pretty fucking like they would be losing their mind over these things happening. Like that's what I was saying earlier. The damage is like undeniable through the entire town, the entire movie. And
the town's response is very don't look up.
Yeah, they're just like, this thing happened. It's pretty curious, and that's it. They just roll with it. Like, what the fuck else happened in this town? You just have werewolves regularly or some shit. Like, is this another day to you guys?
I think that the thing that does help kind of sell that is that the sailor at the beginning who sees the
they
giant,
set it up.
And he's telling everyone that he saw this giant, but everyone already thinks he's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of sets up of why no one's really like, well, it can't be a giant.
I think also though through the movie that there are moments that you can track the town like becoming more aware of it, but still like casually nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
Like, there's this thing around here. There's this monster in town. Watch out. And they just go about their lives, go to work and buy groceries and stuff.
Yep. Hogarth evades Mansley and leads the giant to a junkyard owned by beatnik artist Dean McCoppin, which we mentioned earlier. We meet him like 30 minutes earlier than this in the movie, but whatever.
Yeah, we had you covered on that.
Yeah, super fun scene.
Yeah.
Fun scene.
Honestly, he's a really good character.
He's really
well
he's
done.
great.
Yeah, and this is just kind of it makes sense, right? It's like a junkyard, a great place to hide a towering robot, especially one that eats metal. There's all the scrap metal.
Junkyard, a great place for a fucking sculptor to work and like own.
Yeah,
that's an awesome example of fucking hustling two ways.
Yeah, I dig it.
Do better. It's a neat character in essence.
Dean McCoppin is voiced by Harry Connick Jr., another actor who's like, where has he been for the last 15 years? I don't know. Beatnik, Dean McCoppin, who reluctantly agrees to keep him. Hogarth enjoys his time with the giant, but is compelled to explain the concept of death to the giant after he witnesses hunters killing a deer. That phrasing is...
Yeah.
I'm compelled to explain death to you.
Yeah, and that was when we were watching, because we watched this one together, and when we were watching the film, there was a great moment where he's like, basically like the robot doesn't really understand what happens, and he's explaining to him like, yeah, it's dead. They killed it. They shot it with a gun, and it's like kind of like a guns kill people moment. And like Reese turns and is like, this is some left wing bullshit here.
Yeah, that's. I feel like the movie didn't do well in the box office, and it's mostly because of like Warner Brothers just did a terrible job at advertising. But I feel like now, if this movie came out now, I think it would do terribly because, like a lot of Americans would be like, "This is some fucking."
I think
there's an equal amount either way.
I think it didn't do well in the box office because I was very deep I was very deep in my blockbuster career at that time.
Yeah,
and like it was just that time where like, if it wasn't made by Disney / Pixar, then nobody gave a shit. Because the thing is, these movies were always strategically... Disney would not allow this movie to be released unopposed. They would release it... Like, Disney would strategically release one of their movies whenever somebody else tried to release an animated film. You were always up against Disney.
Didn't they just do that with Pinocchio?
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, there was a...
They did their live-action remake with Tom Hanks.
Pretty much right around the same time.
Yeah, a couple months before the Netflix one by Del Toro came out.
Was it before the Del Toro one?
The Disney one came out before, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see.
And they both went straight to streaming services, so and definitely caused confusion because it was hard to be like, oh, you need to watch the new Pinocchio. No, not the one with Tom Hanks. The one by Del Toro that's on Netflix.
Yeah, some of those early, like those late '90s, early 2000s shenanigans with Disney are super intense. Like I know, like because eventually DreamWorks tried to they actually challenged Disney. Like they were making animated films on the reg, and they were actually like stealing each other's ideas. Because I remember, like Disney started creating A Bug's Life, and it was out there. DreamWorks, after finding out that they were making Bug's Life, started creating Ants, and actually released Ants before Disney. Like, how rushed of a movie is that?
Yeah.
I will definitely say that they are very different. Ants is fucking socialist propaganda, basically.
A Bug's Life is pretty great, though. Yeah, Bug's Life definitely won that.
I enjoy Ants because I enjoy the degree of socialist propaganda.
Yeah, that's very fitting for you.
I just think it's interesting that they were very different, you know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Ants even got anywhere because it was socialist. Yeah. That's surprising as shit.
Yeah.
They got it off the ground at all. Like that shit got put out there and rivaled Bug's Life.
Well, I think that they probably weren't like really looking that hard at it. They're just we need somebody have a bug script. We need a bug script.
Well, yeah. It probably got snuck through, and probably why a movie like that then, like there wasn't the social media aspect of the world now, where somebody sees one thing and the fire starts immediately.
Yeah.
One little ember, and then whoosh, everybody's like, "Fuck that movie. We hate that thing."
Yeah.
And it didn't happen as quickly back then.
Well, I also feel like nowadays, if that kind of thing happens, where two movies are coming out like the exact same time that are really similar, people just go like, "I'm not going to see either one then," because this is all Hollywood's doing. I don't want to see these.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they miss at least one of them is probably a good movie.
Yeah, no, there's a definite amount of dismissal for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was just my. I remember there was a lot of that going on at the time, and a lot of the animated family focused films that were not put out by Disney did have some issues.
The other good thing about The Iron Giant is that it's not just, it's more than guns are bad or guns kill. It's as you get into the movie and really the topic gets really explored, it becomes more about what really is a gun, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes it a lot more interesting, and people may have missed even that in just focusing on the gun element.
Yeah.
You know?
So after this little left-wing propaganda...
Oh, I was going to say, this is the other scene that really strikes home how mature Hogarth is, where he's like,
explaining
killing
death.
is bad, dying is not bad.
Yeah.
Anything that has a soul can die. It's like, well, damn, this kid's just ready to die. He's at peace with it.
Well,
he's basically a father.
And a beautiful expression of the idea of a soul.
Yeah.
It was the expression of a soul without any affiliation.
Yeah.
And just the most basic description of essentially what everyone thinks a soul is, but then attaches a bunch of shit to it, but they're all talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's just like, hey, take all that shit away. Here's this thing that everybody should be able to agree about because it's just the base of the idea without your bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah.
It's really nice. It's touching. And of course, it was super well animated. And of course, our conversation is not capturing any of the just wonderful fucking scenes, beautiful scenes.
Yeah.
Super dynamic transitions, just fucking awesome animation through this.
Like, great character animation.
All of it's missed, man. Like the scene where he stands up, the scene, the beginning scene we touch on a bit with the waves. You really have to watch this movie.
And hopefully you did, or else you're getting spoilers left and right here.
And this scene with this guy is super fun too. This is one of the most fun.
So what happens after the?
One more factoid.
Oh yeah. We need one more factoid.
This is one of the big production changes they had was this scene with the giant and the deer. Originally was going to be the giant reaches out to touch the deer, and accidentally crushes and kills the deer itself. Yeah. I think was a great change.
Yeah.
First of all, they probably the studio wasn't going to allow that.
Yeah.
That's probably true. I actually would have liked that a little bit more.
You think?
I would like it more. That's way more. That's way heavier.
Yeah.
Than he. Well, that's the thing though. They needed that lesson too for later. I think.
Yeah.
It's more appropriate to have just a brief dash of it.
Yeah, they kind of do a similar thing. He goes to touch it, and he's like, "No, you don't.
Yeah,
you don't fuck with the dead body. You know, it's."
He says that exactly. He says, "We don't fuck with dead bodies."
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's
which is actually
This is a really mature 9-year-old.
Weird thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just a weird thing, dude. Like, somebody actually does. Like, you do things with that. Like,
Yeah.
there is not an amount of, like, you don't do that because somebody will.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even like a games officer, like, game warden's going to go out there and be like, well, gotta take care of this corpse, you know?
Yeah.
Gotta move this to an appropriate place or get it off the path or something.
Yep.
Find who shot it, deal with these guns. But, yeah, no. Still, like, super mature, for sure.
So, after finally moving on from the deer scene, Hogarth is interrogated by Mansley when he discovers evidence of the giant after finding a photo of him next to Hogarth and summons a U.S. Army contingent led by General Shannon Rogard to the scrapyard. I feel like,
That skips a fuck ton.
this is just jumping everywhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's not catching any of the neat scenes. It's just, I guess,
Just don't read Wikipedia synopsis and think you understand what the movie is.
Is this like, did that happen before or after the scene of them playing in the scrapyard?
That's after. This happens after that.
Okay, so that's something that they skipped over.
I think that doesn't technically pertain to the plot. That's why I think
exactly.
Well,
It's a good iteration of like the no.
It does, because that's where he almost like shoots the kid.
No, I
right?
think
that comes later.
That's
Okay,
come later.
okay.
But I think there is a moment in that where I think he might focus on something and start to.
I think when he sees the hunters carrying the guns, his eyes shift.
And
like the red eyes.
I also think it's important to point out the scrapyard owner, like, kind of at first is like begrudgingly like, yeah, he can stay here one night, and then like they kind of bond over art.
Yeah,
you know,
he uses the giant as like an artist assistant to help him do his giant metal sculptures.
Yeah.
Yeah, the immediate bonding is cool, and it's such an it's a fun thing to see people just like how much good. And of course, it's a cartoon, it's fictional, but like the idea of how much good could come from just communicating.
Yeah,
because that's all that has happened.
Hey,
like, that's the only thing that created bonding between these characters with this giant mute. Or not mute, but you know, like
very limited.
This insane character that everyone should just be afraid of, and all they had to do was just communicate with him, and everything's just fucking hunky dory. And it's like a great analogy to like just the very concept of what could happen if we would have done that in the world. Like, if we approach life that way, what good could come from just instead of fucking reacting to, oh my god, it's a giant robot, just like. Hi, giant robot.
Yeah.
You know?
Connected themes with everything everywhere. Just
the
world would be better if everyone could just communicate.
Exactly, that's it.
So then there's like a super dark scene where Kent Mansley not chloroform. What's the
the interrogation scene. Chloroforms,
he chloroforms this 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, and this kind of skips over how demented of a fuck this Kent Mansley actually is. I mean, like, that actually was the most disturbing thing for me, is like he rents a room from the family. That's happened by this point.
Yeah.
And
he's living with this guy. That's
so he's renting a room from them, but he's hanging out in the main level of the house like all the time and like stalking this kid.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's like in his bedroom fucking with him.
Yeah.
Like, getting in his head.
There's a super fun scene of him like just hounding him. Like the couple 30-second scene of him hounding him and all that. They're prattling off
champ,
all the slugger. Yeah, that was awesome. That was fun. But yeah, no, this guy is. I love this guy as a villain. He's an awesome villain because it's so well concealed in this. Just like he is the villain, but like the depth of the villainy you don't really get. You have to kind of look at and dig. And like in that scene where before he not only does he chloroform this kid, you know, he's like, tell me what I need to know. And Hogarth says, fuck off. This guy's like, all right, well, I'm going to immediately appeal to the most frightening thing ever to you as a 9-year-old boy in the fucking 50s. I'm going to take everything away from you. I'm going to take your mom away from you. I'm going to not only just take his mom away from him, but make his mom suffer too. And like this kid, like, single mom, this kid has this. It's a crushing thing. That's an evil thing to tell this kid. And then he chloroforms it.
Like 1957. This is like a... 1957 government Cold Warrior. I mean, that's this dude.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely good.
A very believable and well written villain, I think.
For sure.
Too.
Yeah, great fucking voice acting there too.
Yeah, voiced by
Christopher McDonald.
Christopher McDonald.
Also known as Shooter McGavin for you Happy Gilmore fans out there.
Yeah.
So Hogarth is interrogated by Mansley. He calls the general to the scrapyard to prove the giant's existence, but Dean, having been warned by Hogarth earlier, tricks them by pretending that the giant is one of his art pieces.
That's sort of the scene where the scale is kind of
Yeah.
probably not believable because they stuff him into this.
Yeah, it doesn't explain how he got in that building.
He's kind of like slightly disassembled at this point, though, right? Like,
No,
like,
he's
was
just
just sitting
covered in
down.
like a
They
bunch
just-
of.
oh, okay, they
he
just
just put a
covered it.
bunch of
He's like
shit
sitting
on.
down,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, he's in like a meditation pose and.
Yeah, I will say for the scale thing, there are some issues throughout. Like the biggest one to me though was when you first see him when the guy mistakes him for a lighthouse. I don't think he's ever as big as he is.
So that
there.
was the thing about that shot, though. I would say is that it's a super dynamic, forced perspective, like artistically, like they were going for that. I don't think that's necessarily a true, like, measurable capturing of the scale of them.
Yeah.
Like earlier.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's like standing up in the water.
Yeah.
He's standing standing up in the water, and like you still see a lot of leg.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we saw any leg. I think we just saw him.
It might be from the
body.
waist up. You see.
Yeah, it might be the waist
it's
up.
The waist up, yeah. And he's 50 feet or 100 feet tall.
Okay, I guess they're close. Maybe they're close enough to shore that
he was looking for a lighthouse after all.
Yeah.
So,
I will say I do think there are issues with scales at some point. I don't think it's something that ever
No, it's not egregious
takes
at all.
away from the movie.
It's not egregious at all. It's
I'm not going to waste any more time with this whole scale argument. That'd be like as arbitrary as bitching about a prop.
Yeah, a headset. Like who would even?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get back into it if you want to.
Yeah, we're off that. We're on
We'll have a
the
special
next
episode. Actually, there's going to be mentioned probably.
The prop master.
No. The what that really captures in the next movie we watch.
Yeah.
And it applies to this movie, and it applies to every movie.
Every movie.
It's amazing.
Later, while playing with a toy gun, Hogarth inadvertently activates the giant's defense system.
That's when he almost gets lasered.
Yes.
Yeah, he almost gets murdered.
And they really, it's not like a burst of air or anything. There's like a section of this bus that he accidentally hits.
It's
like
super classic
missing.
1950 sci-fi death ray.
Yeah.
Like it's melt shit.
Very scary.
You
Firing a laser beam in the process, Dean yells at him for nearly killing Hogarth, and the saddened giant runs away with Hogarth giving chase. Dean quickly realizes that the giant was only acting in self-defense and catches up to Hogarth as they follow the giant.
Yeah, the appropriate response of everybody in this situation is very commendable.
Yes.
And it's nice to not waste any time. I hate wasting time on that shit in movies, in series, in any story. Like, okay, these people, and especially when you present intelligent characters, for an intelligent character not to immediately assess a situation appropriately is fucking just, it's one of the things I hate most in movies. That's why I hate so many horror movies.
The third act miscommunication,
Yeah.
so fucking lazy.
Yeah, no, for sure. So they dealt with it, they wrapped it up, and it was still dynamic, and it still played in the story.
But also Dean acts completely logically.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're just like, oh yeah, fuck, he did this, and then immediately went to remedy, I can tell everybody, and as soon as people were aware, they're like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about that scene is what's it? Dean is the so he like gets Hogarth to safety, and then like immediately is like explaining to the robot like what he did, and he's like, look at that hole over there. You almost did that to Hogarth, and there's the robot kind of has this like extreme self-awareness where he realizes like, shit, I almost murdered this kid.
Yeah. For like a giant metal robot, they really convay like
the emotion. The emotion is real. The emotion is
it's
real. Yeah,
really well
get it. And then he kind of does the like like arms down, like stomping off, running away, crying kind of thing.
Right.
Like as a robot, like kind of stomps off crying.
Robot cry.
Yeah. The giant saves two boys falling from a roof when he arrives. winning over the townspeople.
Gross oversimplification of that.
Such a weird way to narrow that down.
Yeah, for sure.
There's two boys on a roof in the town that are like playing around with binoculars, and then the railing of the roof.
I think they're looking for him, maybe.
Yeah, they end up seeing him, and then it's like they lean over the edge, and then the giant runs into town to save them.
Again, it's super. I love this scene too because like the town's like, oh my god, there's a giant robot coming. Oh my god, oh we caught the kids. Fuck yeah, robot.
Yeah,
we love you.
Yeah. On his side.
He's like immediately. He walks into town. Giant robot, 100-foot robot walks into town, and like within like minutes is beloved by the entire town.
Yeah, he did a thing, and everybody's just like, hey, we're gonna set all our feelings aside and their fears and look at just what's in front of us. And son of a bitch, you're a nice guy.
And also, like, kind of along like this whole time, there are little snippets of the Shooter McGavin, like the fuck. What's this guy's name?
Kent Mansley.
Kent Mansley.
Yeah.
That works for the government.
Yeah.
Like he keeps talking to his superior, and his superior clearly thinks he's incompetent. Like throughout the entire movie, like you can
that
tell.
character carries that shame and shit with him the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I think around this time is this when like basically have they showed up? Have like the army has like showed up?
So I think that's probably the next thing. Yeah,
this is they show
this,
up
like,
right
this is where they show up.
He's standing in town with the boys and all the people around him, and then something causes the army convoy to crash, and then they turn around and see the giant standing.
Well, that's right, because the army was actually present to see him as like a sculpture or whatever.
Yeah,
and like they were like basically
on their way out of town.
They're on their way out of town, like, and this guy's like clearly like just committed like career suicide. Like they're chastising him the whole way out of town.
What's great about this scene too is it's a great example of how like it's a good discussion of hysteria and how easy it is to create and enact like social control with hysteria. Because as soon as like they finally see it, and Kent doesn't waste any time. And again, this is a great example of how evil Kent is. As soon as they're aware and they make eye contact, he's like, propaganda. Let's go. It's going to murder everybody right now. We have to go right now. Do you see? And they're like, fuck yeah, let's go murder.
They're like, giant robot. He's attacking the town. Yeah. And they're always like, oh shit.
Yeah. And that's all it took.
Or like
with the right timing, Dean's you can do that.
He has Hogarth, and then he immediately turns around and says, he killed a kid.
Yeah, exactly. And again, just manipulating. The level of manipulation for this villain is awesome.
Mansley spots the giant in the town while leaving Rockwell and has the army attack the giant after he has packed up Hogarth, forcing the two to flee together. They initially evade the military by using the giant's flight system, which is newly established. Yeah. But the giant is shot down and crashes to the ground.
All right. So the flight system, they kind of get like pushed off of an edge. Basically, they get pushed off of a cliff.
Yeah.
About to make impact, and boom, we find out the giant has rocket feet.
Yeah.
Done super well.
Yeah.
And just classic like jets coming out of his feet. Rocket feet.
Everything about this robot is super fucking classic. That's what's so fun about it. None of the shit, Yeah. It's great. It just works. It works for him. He just has everything.
Yeah.
He just has everything.
Yeah. Hogarth is knocked unconscious after the fall, but the giant...
After the fall?
Yes. Sorry. Okay. But the giant gives in to his defensive systems in a fit of rage and grief. It doesn't really say this, but he thinks that Hogarth is dead.
Yeah.
Transforming into a war machine and returning to Rockwell.
Yeah, it triggers his war machine mode, which is again a great. One of my favorite parts of this movie is this scene because it's just a fucking every 50s, evil robot archetype mashed into one. He's got every fucking doodad.
It's got like
death laser.
He becomes like Voltron or some shit.
And they're all like
really like intimidating.
He's like a transformer.
All the weapons once they start, and they take time to like animate all these different weapons, and they're all wacky and do super complex, specific things. And this is where this is one funny thing in like family appropriate movies sometimes where there's these kinds of attack scenes, and they did it in like the Marvel movies. Well, it's in a lot of movies. It's shit in Power Rangers, where you just have these these giant battles happening in some town space, and like there's no attention paid at all to the actual damage that's happening, the actual deaths that are happening, because like he's blowing up tanks and like making tanks like blip out of existence.
Yeah.
There's no conversation to the two guys that are in that tank.
Yeah.
You know?
And then it'll cut to him about to blow up another Jeep, and you see the guys run out. Like, oh, don't worry. They got
people definitely died in these scenes, you know, and they just kind of, let's work with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
People die.
Mansley convinces Rogard to prepare a nuclear missile launch from the USS Nautilus as conventional weapons prove to be ineffective. Hogarth awakens and returns.
Not trains, though. Trains were pretty effective. They should just bust out a train.
Get all the trains in the town. Yeah. Hogarth awakens and returns in time to calm the giant while Dean clarifies the situation to Rogard. Rogard is ready to stand down and order the Nautilus to deactivate its primed nuke, but a panicked Mansley impulsively orders the missile to launch.
Impulsively?
He grabs the fucking grabs the radio out of his hand.
Yeah, it definitely
diabolically.
Yeah, it felt like I'm not going out this way.
Like, this thing's gonna die.
Yeah, he's like a real piece of shit. This guy.
He is. Mansley impulsively orders the missile launch. The missile is targeted to hit Rockwell, where it will destroy the town upon impact. Yeah, and the resulting nuclear detonation.
Yeah, and this is where I'll call him the general. I know you're giving him a name over there, but the general is like looking at is like this idiot Mansley. He's like Mansley, you fucktard. Like that missile was targeted at the robot. Where's the robot? And he turns around. He's like standing right there, looking at him all stupid and shit. Really funny moment, actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And if this movie were rated PG-13, I think this would be the scene where they use their one F-bomb. He says, "Screw my country, I want to live."
Well, I see that.
But it'd be a lot. It'd just be so funny if it was, "Fuck my country, I want to live."
Well, and like how
strategically placed F-bomb in a PG-13 movie is like my favorite topic of conversation.
Right. Yeah. The easiest way to this movie could just be the same as any other fucking dramatic film if you just plug that level of intensity into it.
Yeah.
You know, just show people actually die when it's appropriate, and it would be the same story exactly, and people would immediately give more of a shit about it.
Yeah. I also like how the general doesn't really seem that actually emotionally troubled by it. He's just like, "Mansley, you fucking idiot."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mansley tries to like he's like, "Oh, there's a bomb shelter nearby." He's like, "We're not gonna survive this, you fucktard."
Yeah.
You know, like, and then he tries to like steal a car and escape what's gonna be a nuclear holocaust, and I think the robot stops him.
The
Iron Giant
puts his hand right in front of the Jeep and he crashes.
Yeah, and then the old general's like, make sure this guy stays right here, which I thought was pretty actually intense for.
It
was pretty intense. Like, make sure he dies right here with everyone else. It's like rubbing a dog's nose in it, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, there's a lot of that subtle intensity in this movie, for sure.
Where it will destroy the town. Mansley tries escaping after being lectured by Rogard, but the giant intervenes, and Rogard has Mansley arrested. To save the town, the giant bids farewell to Hogarth and flies off to intercept the missile.
Gross simplification again. Yeah,
and this is where the robot reuses a line that
a couple
Hogarth,
lines.
that Hogarth had said to him earlier in the movie. Really touching moment.
Well, and this all missed the moment when earlier in the movie I think the giant says himself that he's not a gun. Yeah, and I think he reiterates it here.
Yeah. That actually that is something that we skipped over. Yeah, when he was kind of weaponized in the junkyard and almost kills Hogarth, there was a scene where Dean actually says he's like a big gun,
right?
And then when he comes back to the town and they're kind of reunited, he says that he's like, "I'm not a gun," acknowledging
the choice to not be a gun. You realize that he is
This is the scene. I assume you watching for the first part thought, "Oh, I'm supposed to cry here," but then just didn't.
I'll tell you. So coming into it, my only knowledge of this movie, I knew it was a movie for a long time that I probably should have seen, but I had seen visuals of what the actual giant is because I had seen the movie Ready Player One. And
dear God.
And I had heard mention of the theme of the movie from an episode of Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
When he mentions, like, I knew it was like a tearjerker because he's like, there's going to be a whole room full of grown men crying here. And so I'm like, okay, well, I know. So I'm gearing up for it to be sad going into it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the use, and it was kind of controversial when it came out, of the use of Iron Giant in Ready Player One. It's basically just a mech suit.
Yeah.
It was felt to be pretty disrespectful to the message of the Iron Giant, which is guns are bad.
Yeah. And that's completely off topic because that movie was just a whole collection of other like pop culture.
Yeah, it's hot garbage.
Popular shit. So
laziest shit ever.
Yes. Lost my spot.
No, it was
so basically the giant.
Or I go, you stay, no following.
No following. Yeah.
To save the town, the giant bids farewell to Hogarth and flies off to intercept the missile. As he soars directly into the missile's path, the giant remembers Hogarth's words, "You are who you choose to be."
Yeah.
Smiles contentedly and declares
Which
himself...
are actually Dean's words.
Yeah.
Dean actually coined that whole bit of the movie, right?
Yeah. He just declares to himself Superman as he collides with the weapon.
Yeah, that was a really touching scene. Like he says Superman as he's remembering that line, and then he closes his eyes like right before impact, and like it's almost like he's like it's almost like a soothing way into this death, you know. Like he's very satisfied with this moment.
Yeah. The missile explodes in the atmosphere, saving Rockwell, its population, and the military forces nearby. While the giant is presumably destroyed, leaving Hogarth, Dean, Annie, and Rogard devastated. I'm sure the general was devastated by the death of this giant.
Yeah, after that whole situation resolved, the general's response was just, "Let's go home."
Yeah,
and like that one was funny to me and just striking because you would just say like, "Let's go home," but it is kind of just. And there's some shit to deal with here. Like,
you got some paperwork.
Tanks have blipped out of existence, fucking destroyed, people are dead.
Yeah.
It is a huge thing, really. Like, kind of bigger, but...
That's going to make, like, national news that there was a nuke detonated above a main town.
It's a hell of a shit show. You know? and maybe that was, like, preemptive exhaustion for, like, knowing that the paperwork, like, let's go home so we get this fucking shit going.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
Months later, Dean and Annie have a chat at a memorial of the giant made by Dean standing in Rockwell.
Yeah, so when they first premiere this the scene where they like show like kind of this like scan up of this ginormous kind of like statue memorial of the giant, and it's got like the template at the bottom that said, you know, in memory of the Iron Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole scene right there was actually, for me watching it for the first time, the one that probably got me the most choked up. Like, that was the moment. Like that was a rough one.
Yeah. I'm glad you had an emotional response.
So just a side note, I came home after watching this film, and Molly, my wife, was like, "So what did you think?" And I'm like, "It was good. It was good." I'm like, "It wasn't as sad as what Ted made it out to be."
Right. Yeah.
And she said, "Well, maybe that's because you're dead inside." that was her response.
It's possible. Hogarth is given a package from General Rogard containing a screw from the giant, which is the only remnant found.
And this is when you just know that it is a happy ending.
Yeah.
Because if he has it, then he has it.
Yeah.
You know he's indestructible.
This is also a scene that only happens in a cartoon because we all know, like, in a live action film, the general in this whole situation, they're not giving up pieces of the robot. They're gonna study that fucking thing until the end of time.
Yeah.
That's gonna get locked away in like an Area 51 type.
That could be like the general just like swept the whole giant thing under the rug.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of extra. That could just tear up the entire town.
The general is clearly as incompetent as Mansley was.
Yeah.
That night, Hogarth finds the screw trying to move on its own, remembering the giant's ability to self-repair.
And yay, that means he's alive.
And was still alive. Happily, he allows the screw to leave.
Yeah, he opens up a window, lets it go away.
The idea that any piece would have been recovered, or like specifically that piece, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just a piece. Should have been a funnier piece. I don't know. It works though.
There's probably not a lot of pieces to that giant that are a handful, you know.
I guess there's only 2 screws.
Yeah.
It's a jaw screw.
And then
because there's never any other they were always just, he was very super segmented.
Yeah.
Super segmented. That I think actually was probably the smallest piece that they ever showed. Because otherwise, it was just like the bar of his arm and the fucking nut of his arm.
Yeah.
It's like the joint.
The screw joins many other parts as they converge on the giant's head,
which would take for fucking
and
ever.
they're all on like an iceberg
on the
North Pole,
Longico
Iceland
glacier in Iceland.
Right. Okay, which, pretty fucking far up there.
Iceland, like, it's a little off to me. I don't think there's actually glaciers around Iceland. It's actually like a pretty warm.
They probably did their research.
Yeah, wasn't that the
Greenland's actually the icy.
That I've always heard.
Literally,
it
gives it like a real name. And look at the picture.
Okay,
it's frosty.
Right. I'll accept it.
Can confirm.
Since Wikipedia said it must be true.
It's Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And the giant smiles as he begins reassembling himself.
That would take
the
year. Yeah, that's presumably like at least like half a year to a year after.
Yeah.
After the screw leaves, because that screw is just rolling.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's going through
actually
water.
See the screw?
Yeah, it followed the screw. I think. Yeah, in that.
You see it go through the grass.
remember actually seeing this. No, I remember seeing the screw leave the window, but I don't remember seeing the screw on the glacier. I think it was just like presumed that eventually they.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it shows.
I don't think the screw actually makes it there. You see
a foot hopping, and
you see an arm, and then you see the head.
Well, I mean, he's gonna have to wait for the goddamn screw.
He's not gonna have to because he's gonna be like most of his body's there. All that shit's the screw is sending out a signal. It's gonna put all that together, and then he's gonna be able to fly over and grab the fucking screw or whatever.
Yeah. Or the screw meets up with a hand and then rides with the hand.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Oh.
Checks out.
Actually, yeah, that was one of the funniest. The hand in the.
That was
I love
the whole bathroom
fiasco. He was fucking. He was like a cat.
Yeah.
Like a giant cat.
Just like unwinding the toilet paper.
Yeah, just poking around. What's this do? So like, it's an interesting idea for this creature too. That when disassembled, his limbs, because like that right there, just establishes that when it's not a part of him, his limbs can act independently. So that's
and apparently have some amount of hearing and seeing.
Yeah, exactly. It's registering what the kid's saying and all this. And so I guess like if you break him up, like shit, at that point maybe some of his limbs and such just decide to go on adventures. Who knows how long it would take for him to reassemble?
Yeah, who knows?
His fucking foot could be hanging out wherever for a year or two. You know, kinds of have its own amazing life.
Hogarth's prayer during the hand scene is also very funny.
Yeah.
When he's like, "Stop!"
Yeah. Oh,
the devil.
Yeah, super well done there.
Yeah, and like so main takeaways from my first view is a family film, which we've already noted that I don't watch a lot of them, hence me waiting 24 years to watch this one. But like I will say, the movie had something to say.
Oh yeah.
Like really, I think two messages of the like John, as you were saying, like anybody can be a gun.
Yeah.
And then and I think the biggest message was just that last thing of like you are what you choose to be.
Yeah.
Like because by all accounts, it seems as though the Iron Giant was created to be a gun. And in the end, he chose to be something else.
Yeah, and actually, there's a scene that wasn't in the original cut that was in the extended cut that you provided to show us, which was like the army of the robots just murderizing shit.
It's basically confirming that he's like a machine made for invading and decimating. Which
I'm glad that it wasn't in the original cut.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool scene if you've seen the movie before.
Yeah,
it just kind of confirms what had been like hinted at.
Yeah,
in probably the original.
My problem,
it spoils a little bit also the reveal.
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
Guns.
It kills the reveal of the awesome fucking multi-layered death robot at the end. That guy was fucking cool, and like you showed it all, man.
Sure. I could see that. And I was spoiled, like, because this was my first view, and I got this additional footage that I told you I didn't want.
Yeah. No, it's a.
You guys were all excited about the additional footage. I'm like, fuck! I want the cut.
Right.
Give me the cut, not the director's cut, the original cut.
But I was
Well, the interesting thing about that scene too is apparently it's not like they had him take it out. It was the direct. That was in the original script. Yeah. They just ran out of time and they had to make a cut, and that's what got cut. It was like, it seemed all for the better.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, the message was essentially really, you are what you choose to be. You know, that is the message in a nutshell.
Which just such a clean,
it
good
is,
message.
It is, and when it is resounding with no other context. You know, just it alone as it is.
Yeah.
Just be aware of what it is to be. You know, and like it's just that consciousness of violence. Like it's not just the object that makes the violence; it's the violence itself. Like know what it is. You know. But yeah, it was super well executed, super poignant.
Yeah.
Super just well put together. Again, the animation was fucking flawless. As an artist, it's fucking gorgeous, man. You know, and that era of animation is super special to me. I think it's super special, and I think that I enjoy the level of graphics and CGI that things can be. I think things basically look 100% realistic at this point, but I just love animation.
Yeah.
And, if you're trying to experience a thing and to a degree escape the world that you're already aware of and know, it should be vastly different. And like for that style of animation, that's fairly simple. It's how they made that kind of animation, or as immersive as they made that animation, was super impressive. Yeah. With the amount of layering of the imagery and the way that they combined the images to make real shots, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
That animation is just killer.
Yeah, it was a successful first pick.
Yeah. So if you definitely
thank you.
haven't seen the movie, absolutely, I think it's a crime for people who have not seen the movie for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's just a great experience.
Well, am I resolved of my sins for having been forced to watch it?
No, it's like on the family take. Like I would much rather. I don't want my kids to see drivel. I don't want them to see that. Like even if they, I want it to be heavy. I want it to be something that they won't get for a while, but will probably really, like, I hope the weight of the art soaks into them. Yeah. And so they can carry it with them as they develop. Because I don't want my kids to see stupid shit. I don't want them to see Disney fucking dance-a-thons and stuff that has just like the most base level lazy ass meaning to it that it could. It's just no. So I've always wanted my kids to see intensity of some kind in the things they watch. I think they're better off for it.
Especially if you're going to have to suffer through it.
Exactly.
3 dozen times a week.
Them, so I'm not going to deal with some complete fucking garbage.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to mention about the film is on the movie night, Reese, you made a point. You said you presented this arguably you could say is the greatest Superman movie ever made.
Yeah, it's essentially the same character again without all the bullshit. That's what I love about the character of the robot is he's all these things that are so accepted as forms of heroism and images of heroism, but without all the extra trappings. Like he is Superman, but without the
he's impossible to kill.
To popular culture, he's an illustration of goodness without tie to religion. He's he's an example of peace without being tied to any government. Like he's just a pure symbol. He just is, and he's inexplicable. He just showed up and he's just there. Like, it's fucking somebody made this, or created this capacity in this war machine. I suppose that's a whole bit too, though. But the technology is definitely inexplicable.
Yeah, I really just thinking back at some of the things that we didn't describe. The scene in the junkyard when they're playing, and he wants to be Superman. He finds like an S on a car and like rips it off and sticks it on his chest.
It is just such a. Again, it goes right back to that same message of you can be what you choose to be because just great rehabilitation. Like all it took for this fucking death machine to become a nice guy was to get a bonk on the head and hang out with this kid on Earth.
Hang out with a 9-year-old.
Boom. All the lessons you need right there.
So it kind of brings it back to what I was saying at the beginning that I was going to say at the end, which is pretty close to now. So the second movie I ever saw in the theater was E.T. I was born in 81. It came out in 82. But that was the first movie as a kid that I was kind of like obsessed with. I remember I even had my mom get me like the E.T. cereal, which was disgusting. I hate chocolate. And but anyway, I was obsessed with that movie, and like on the rewatch today, I actually realized that like, yeah, this is like in a way it's kind of exactly the same movie. I mean, it's like a little kid trying to hide an alien that he'd befriended from his mom and the government. Like that's a quick synopsis you can do of both movies, and it applies.
Was there self-sacrifice in E.T.? I honestly can't fucking remember.
Was there self-sacrifice in E.T.? No, not really. Not on the same scope as the Iron Giant.
Without the tones of violence, probably overall.
Yeah. There definitely was some tones of violence from the government. Like, yeah. Like that part is kind of the same. It's just there was never like a world end scenario at the end of E.T. E.T. I think tried a little harder to like pull on your heartstrings, you know.
Right.
But like the aspects of like, you know, make you think he's dead, but turns out he's not. Like it kind of definitely has that aspect to it.
That's one of those things. That's just a tool.
It's just a tool that you'll see in a lot of films.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's the thing. Back to the whole everything's just some regurgitated nonsense. Arguably nonsense or not nonsense, but everything's regurgitated to some degree because like everything that's ever been done again is just wholly influenced by everything done before it. So that kind of a thing is not the right thing to get hung up on in most any art, really, not just film, but just all art and music. Like, yeah, it's been done. Of course, it's been fucking done. Like, like everything that's now being done that you think is new is just a combination of other things and the experience of those things. So. Yeah, we're just fucking roll with it. It's fine as long as it's good.
I didn't mean that as a criticism.
No, I know.
It's just like I think that there was just something about it that I didn't really pick up like on it at first, and it's like it was kind of as if I had seen the movie before.
There's all kinds of ties to it.
And it did kind of take me. It's been a long time since I've seen E.T. Like I can't even remember the last few.
It's been a long time for me
but I watched it so much when I was at that very young age that it's like instilled in my brain. I remember a lot of the scenes and stuff, and
it's a fun thing to see, to find those connections between art. It's like it was when after I rewatched Short Circuit, and then after that watched Chappie, and I realized that those are just the same fucking movies. But they're fucking wonderful individually in their own way and expression of that story. Like, you're both fucking killer. Have you ever seen Short Circuit?
Yeah, we had this discussion.
I
think it's kind of dumb, but I haven't watched it in like 15 years.
Yeah, because it's. Do you like Chappie?
Yeah, I enjoyed Chappie. I didn't think Chappie was like a masterpiece, but I enjoyed it for the special effects.
I'm a sucker for.
He only likes animated robots, John.
Which that one was. That should track.
Yeah.
No, they're essentially the same, but they're actually very similar to this too. Like, they're both. It's the same.
Weapons
idea,
convinced to be good.
Weapons technology.
Yeah.
Essentially relearning what it is to be alive. It's actually the same fucking shit, really.
Yeah.
All right, so it's also Short Circuit.
Yeah, it's also Short Circuit and Chappie.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the movies we thought of in 5 minutes. If we sat here for an hour, we
can scratch those off the list of movies that we have to. Well, we've already seen those. We don't have to watch those and or pick those for future episodes.
Yeah.
Do you feel at all convinced that animation has more credence and value than you gave it?
I don't think that. I think that you guys were gonna you specifically were going a little over the top with like saying that I like hate animation, and I get why you would say that. I'm just very particular about it, I guess.
Well, I mean, yours not a family oriented. Like it's I think it's more your version of the family nature of the storytelling than the animation.
Sure, that's absolutely true, and
that's a palette thing. That's
and like
back to just liking what you like and not liking.
Because so my wife forced me to go watch this movie called like something Totoro.
Yeah.
And like
My Neighbor Totoro.
Like fuck that movie. Like seriously.
My thing when I was talking about that movie, I was just wanting to make sure that you separated that movie from like to not think all things that are of the Japanese anime in art style.
But I'm not talking about that right now. I'm just talking about like the character of Totoro kind of has like some similar like likeness to the Iron Giant in a
Sure.
way, and like in as far like on an animation sense, and like oh, here's this like lovable character that you don't.
Right.
That doesn't actually interact with you as an audience member, but you just fall in love. You're supposed to fall in love with like how cute and cuddly it is, even though it's not really cute and cuddly, you know. And but like the fact that the Iron Giant kind of has some more like mature themes to it, you know, makes it more palatable. Yeah. Even though like you could argue that hey, it's just Totoro. It's just Totoro, really. It's the same movie. It's Short Circuit and Totoro, but like again. I like the Iron Giant. I didn't like Totoro. I thought it sucked.
No, exactly. There's
most overrated piece of shit I've ever. I had to see that thing in the theater.
There's no way that's the most overrated movie you've ever seen. You have to.
I didn't like it at all. Movies. Like I did not enjoy myself. They had it was one of those theaters that has alcoholic beverages, and like I could not drink enough of them.
That's just so strange. It is a kids movie. That's weird that they would serve alcohol with it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's probably just a showing at a whatever theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But yeah, I mean, I get that it's for the I think it's more the family film version as opposed to the animation, you know, for you, and I get that. But there's a lot of good examples. Another one, have you seen 9? From
yeah, that's a great animated movie.
Thing. Yeah, that thing is heavy as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
That movie could downright scare a kid.
Yeah,
you know? And it's just more geared towards family. But not just fully kids, and that's where like Totoro, I feel like is just kids, and probably one of the more. I haven't seen all of Ghibli's stuff, but there's some Ghibli movies that are definitely not. That.
There's some.
You know?
I will say
very
that
violent ones.
Just as an example, like one of my like top movie. I don't know top what, but one of the movies that's up there for me is The Emperor's New Groove. I like that's what like one of my favorite all time movies.
That movie's hilarious.
Yeah, no, it is. But,
so you
but
have
also
some appreciation for animation.
Yeah, but again, that one is kind of in a lot of ways like a lot of the jokes and stuff are targeted towards an older audience.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and that's I think the main bit is just to not just completely write something off. Like it's worth. You might be surprised. It's easy, and especially in presentation of films through like. The trailers and stuff. Trailers can be bad, and the setting in which you hear about a movie or see a movie or get a taste from somebody's description of the movie. Like, it's always a good thing to fucking be somewhat open.
Yeah, that's why I hate giving descriptions of movies because I feel like
it can be hard.
It's gonna be actually pretty hard to describe a movie, even like Everything Everywhere. That doesn't sound like
particularly hard.
That doesn't sound interesting to me. It's well, yeah, because it's hard to describe. Just trust me and watch it.
Yeah, those are the movies. It's like if somebody asked me, I'm like, oh, you should watch this movie. What's it about? Well, just watch it.
This is great. This is great segmenting into my pick.
Yeah.
So
tell
so are we done with have we completely unpacked the Iron Giant?
I think so. I think
we touched on everything.
Unless we want to do our rating now and then
we can
go on to
rating.
What? The fuck this movie.
Fuck. Yeah. Fuck this movie was it was I guess everything I thought it would be and probably a little bit more.
Yeah.
It definitely took me back to my childhood, which is I guess what you kind of want from a movie like this. Yeah, it's definitely. I get why it's an all-time great, and I've known for a while that it was a movie that I should have seen that by now. Like I've known that for a while, and I'm glad that this this podcast gave me an opportunity and the motivation necessary to actually do it.
Yeah. I just think it's. I don't think it's a flawless movie, but I do think it's a perfect movie, and I just like on a technical level, it's spectacular. The story, the characters, just all the way down. It's just so solid. It's so easy breezy. Like less than 90 minutes. The timing and pacing is just impeccable.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a great movie. As soon as I've known that since I saw it, and it's great on all different levels, and it's definitely timeless. And it's a timeless expression of a timeless idea.
Yeah.
It's a very, and that's the thing too. It's a very. For a lot of people, it's very palatable. It's a great mode of delivery. I don't know. I enjoy watching an animated movie like that has those the real gravity it has, but it's hidden, and it's fun unwrapping that in a movie. And I love stories like that you can get into, like really dissecting like the symbolism or the symbology and the fucking analogies therein, and just the things like finding the weight of it, just taking it apart. It's a great experience for any of those movies. So yeah, it's killer. I definitely think it's a
this movie.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
All right, so before we go into John's pick, I should have done this at the beginning, but Reese, why did you pick The Iron Giant?
Because you're skeptical of family films and animated films, and I need to prove you wrong.
Okay.
Most of my picks might end up veering just to prove, trying to convince you of something.
You've turned me around. You've turned me around on family films.
Because then you started like, is a Jesus film directed by Martin Scorsese good? That doesn't sound good. Well, great. Now is that my next pick? Is The Last Temptation of Christ my next pick?
Oh man, don't make me watch shit about
Jeebus.
That's
the
good.
Jeebs.
It's good. But mine is not the next pick.
It is not.
So I just think everyone should watch The Iron Giant. I think it's a must see for humans.
I mean, most of the things that I dare say, unless we just want to rip on something, anything I pick, I'm gonna genuinely want everyone to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Even like some of the weird, obscure shit, they would probably.
People
might not have any interest in. I'm still like, you really. In my heart of hearts, I hope you watch this thing, because it's like, even if it's fucking abrasive to you and you're just gonna be like, what the fuck was that? Like, yeah, still, it's like it's. I like seeing people make that exercise.
Yeah.
Try.
I'm personally looking forward to potentially having my mind changed or opinion changed about some movies we talk about. I'm very excited.
I think it's an important exercise, but
yeah.
So
you've basically like nailed down Short Circuit for some time in the future to be picked against you at this point.
We've all watched it. I gotta pick something that somebody has
awesome. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
man.
you might have watched it, but you didn't see it.
And dude, I want to say like
you were fucking with your phone the whole time.
Yeah,
that was before I had a phone.
Yeah. So do we want to name the pick or?
Yeah. John drew the middle straw, so John will decide what we will be watching 1 week from tonight, and we will be talking about 2 weeks from tonight.
Right.
What do we got, John?
Movie is Rubber. A movie
Rubber
that ties so well into everything that we just watched and all the stuff we just talked about. It's a movie that you really like you can't describe.
Yeah.
To somebody. You attempt to, and that's what I love. One of the things I love about the movie is that it just shoots itself in the foot by being just so fucking wacky, and it's intentional. Mm-hmm. You can't describe the movie to somebody, All right. If you try, it's just that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
we will attempt to do just that 2 weeks from tonight.
And for anyone who wants to watch it beforehand, it is currently streaming on Amazon Prime, as well as available to purchase on all the normal places.
This is Rubber?
Rubber.
Amazon Prime.
Wait, I'm sorry, I missed that. Where can I watch? Amazon Prime?
Amazon Prime.
And then you can like rent or buy it.
And you can rent it, buy it.
Place that you normally rent or buy shit.
Apple, Vudu, Amazon.
Fantastic film. Definitely takes paying attention to and immersing yourself in, for sure, even though it may seem like something you wouldn't want to. You really do want to. It's a very dialogue driven.
I'm excited that it's available on Prime, because that means that I don't have to pay for it to watch it a million times between now and the next episode.
Right. All right.
I've never seen it, by the way.
Yeah, so, I know. It's one I've been waiting for you to see. I'm very excited for you to see.
Have you seen this one?
I have, but it's been a while. But I enjoyed it the first time I watched
it. I don't know. I never know how people are going to take it, because it's just such a fucking.
It's a very John Brown pick. And by the way, I knew that you were going to pick this.
Oh, I knew. I knew you did. I was going to resist that, but the more we were just talking about movies, I had to get it out of the way. I have to.
It's really fucked up. It's like
it's really important.
Like I actually think that I know what Reese's next pick is going to be. Also,
what?
I'm not going to tell you. Just like I didn't tell John.
Is the one I literally just talked about? Is the one I just talked about?
No. No. So if you choose that, if you want to prove me wrong,
yeah.
No, more ways than one.
Yeah. So I don't know I don't know. I don't have any expectation either in what I think people will think of the movie. Because it's weird and it's super fun. Like it's super well done.
I like getting people to watch movies that you're not wanting necessarily them to like it. You just want to see how they react.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know their thoughts.
Yeah.
It's just one more because discussion's not great.
Yeah, that is fun, and I think we're going to see this continued trend towards watching. Like we're going to get together and watch movies that at least one of us hadn't seen. Like it's not a sexy pick to pick something that we've all seen before.
Yeah.
Unless it was something that Reese was fucking with his phone the whole time and didn't actually see the movie.
Oh my god. Short Circuit's not worth it. I don't know. Are we?
I disagree. All right. So yeah.
I have one more segment.
And by the way, if you're looking for Short Circuit and cannot find it when you go to pick it, don't let that deter you from picking it because it doesn't stream really anywhere. I own it.
It's available to buy right now on Vudu for $5.
Is it really? Short Circuit? Oh, wow. Okay, I looked the other day and it went there. They had Short Circuit 2, no Short Circuit.
Oh, interesting. A really good resource for anyone, speaking of trying to find a movie on a streaming service, is a website called justwatch.com. You just go there, you type in any movie, any TV show, and it shows you what websites it's streaming on. But it also will show you how much it costs to rent it or buy it from all the big retailers. So you can compare prices.
I've just been turned on to that also.
Yeah.
I've just started using that.
So good.
It's free. I was using Decider for a while, but yeah, just Watch is perfect for exactly that. If getting into these movies where I'm watching more movies. I wanted something to
for sure.
Easiest way to build the collection and all that. Mm-hmm. I don't want to rent something that's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
The guy who worked at Blockbuster said. I knew it back then as a failed business model.
Yeah, it's antiquated. That's all. It was perfectly appropriate for the time that it existed. And,
it needed to exist at the time.
I'll never forget when I worked at the old Blockbuster. I had a coworker, and like he was this crazy guy, and like everybody loved him because he was just the wackiest dude.
Yeah. And
like he almost had he was very skinny, but he almost had like a Chris Farley vibe to him. He was like very in your face when he spoke. And he's like, in the future, and they're like, tell Dustin about the future of movies. He's like, in the future, there's gonna be no video stores. It's gonna be a giant vending machine. and you just go in and you choose your movie from the vending machine and shoots it out like a can of soda. And we were just like, you wacky motherfucker.
And he now owns Redbox.
Yeah. All right. I think that's going to do it, right?
One last thing.
Oh, we have one last thing.
I wouldn't mind bringing up every episode. If you want to go out and support your local theater, the only really interesting thing coming out this week, and you two might disagree, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If you want to see that.
It was one of the... So I don't really give much of a shit about Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
The first... Well, I didn't see the first one, actually. I only saw the second one. The second one was pretty fucking entertaining.
Oh, the first one is great.
It's
the first one is very good. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean...
I'm not a huge Marvel movie fan, but I really do like that.
It's arguably the best Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's standalone. Just like that and like Deadpool, where they're kind of like standalone kind of comedic, like kind of their own standalone thing. They work really well for sure. I enjoy those movies.
If you're gonna have these, like, have some present and upfront ridiculousness with ridiculous characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's how I can enjoy those characters, is if they are a little bit more ridiculous. But otherwise, I just don't give a shit because I'm not going to take a ridiculous thing too seriously. And that's where like I never gave a shit about comic books growing up because of that. Cause most of this shit is completely ridiculous. And why the fuck am I going to take any of this seriously?
So we're telling everybody, go support your local theater. They don't make nearly enough money on these movies. We want it to be a thing that they do for a long time. We actually just saw, not together, but not completely together. Yeah. But we just saw the new Evil Dead.
Evil Dead Rise.
Evil Dead Rise.
Yes.
What do you guys think of it?
I loved it.
You loved it?
I thought it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, but it wasn't as good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I kind of fall more on your side, John. Like I liked it.
I think it was.
I wouldn't say that I love it. I liked it.
I thought it was super well done. I thought it was fantastic for what it was. I don't have any major note. I don't really have many notes at all. Really, I thought it was was all right. Maybe a little slow. I mean, it was slower than the first. I think that's the big difference. But I can't necessarily, other than it being a little bit, there being more chances to breathe in this one than the first one. Outside of that, I can't really say exactly why I thought it just missed the mark. But maybe, I don't know, maybe the first one was just that fucking good.
It didn't have the charm. It didn't have the charm of the originals, and it didn't have quite the grit as what the reboot did.
It was not. It wasn't as gritty. It was close, and it wasn't quite as, because like I said, there's more times for you to like sit back and like breathe. And I don't remember. I just rewatched Reboot, and like once shit goes in the 2013 reboot, it's going, and it's just fucking, it's just intense, and like it was good though. I did enjoy it. There's one thing that I wish I would have seen that would have just fucking done it.
No spoilers.
I feel like.
Oh,
dude, yeah.
Was this something about the ending?
Just no. I mean, the ending can be basically the same. Not like the after, because that's okay. So the one thing that I didn't like and felt really unnecessary, I did not like. Not what the how the opening sequence went. I just didn't. The opening sequence and end sequence, wholly unnecessary.
Yeah, the beginning sequence was kind of weird once you actually watched the movie. Like, it felt really out of place.
There's a tie to the whole movie.
Yeah.
But it's literally adjacent.
Yeah.
It's literally adjacent and means nothing. And
that was something I thought.
It was just there. I feel like if they didn't have that, it probably would have been better.
I felt like it was probably just to like establish like this movie is going to be violent.
Well, yeah, I get that, but you know the name. You don't need to establish Evil Dead is going to be violent unless you. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just weird. Born, I guess.
No, yeah, it was totally.
We're not going to spoil too much because we want you to go out and watch it. But
yeah, it was
worth. Yeah, I think it's worth seeing.
I think it's worth seeing in the theater. I'm an Evil Dead purist, and I would not put it with the originals, and I don't think it was good as the reboot, but I don't think it was bad. I think it was good. I think it was like somewhere between above average and good.
It's exploration of the space.
For the horror movie genre, it's very good.
Is like, what it is. Yes. It's exploration
There's
of
a lot of shit in that
what
genre.
Evil Dead is and what you can do with Evil Dead. And that's really what it is. It's just trying new shit out. And I dug a good part of it, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think everything that is Evil Dead is very unique. Like, shit, dude. People talk about Ash versus Evil Dead, and I have no idea what people could think of that show. Like, because that's like, I love it as an Evil Dead fucking purist, but it's like, it exists in its own space too, because it's like a whole other level. It's a very particular kind of wacky within the wackiness of Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's definitely not as horror driven as like what the movies are.
It is in a fun way. I mean, Evil Dead 2 wasn't super horror. The early ones weren't super, like, they're horror driven, but they're still like really wacky. But every different iteration is a different flavor of wackiness somehow. So, and maybe that was the attempt with this opening scene and closing scene from Evil Dead Rise, was their own attempt at some degree of wackiness. But no, there's, I'll say it after we close out to not give any spoilers. There's one thing I wish would have happened in that movie. I feel like it would have done it. It would have done it.
Dungeons and Dragons is also still in theaters, and it's still worth your money and time. Please go see it.
I actually did. I actually went and saw that movie with my wife, off of your suggestion. Actually, it actually was. It was really good. It was
good.
It was close to a family movie.
Yeah.
Besides some like language.
At the end of the day, like, there's a lot of movies that are still, like, even though they're not family movies, they're still family. I mean, I feel like any popcorny fucking action movie. I mean, essentially
Marvel movies are all PG-13, but they're definitely all going for the family audience.
I think that I had a better movie going experience watching the Dungeons and Dragons movie than I did the Evil Dead movie, and that is very surprising for people who know me. I actually think I enjoyed the theater experience better with the Dungeons and Dragons movie. It was just one of those movies that, like, I remember last year I saw Bullet Train at the theater, and it's like, well, it's not like the greatest movie ever. As a theater going experience, that movie was a fucking blast.
Yeah, it was great.
That movie's a blast for sure.
Yeah.
And I definitely kind of had a little bit of that from the Dungeon. And I'm not even a huge D&D guy. I just like.
I mean, just as a fantasy movie, it's a great fantasy movie.
I picked up close to zero of the 5,000 Easter eggs that are in there. I picked up close to zero.
Yeah. No, it should have been. Was my hope for that movie, that it was just going to be a really good fantasy movie and not have too many like heavy-handed plugs to the D&D stuff, or D&D being played or anything like that. Like the super Vegas like analogies for it would have annoyed me. Like just make it.
As somebody who's not super into D&D, I can say if you're thinking about going to see the movie or have a loved one that is into D&D that wants to go see the movie, it's worth your time to go see. It's really good, and I think it does have a lot of extra shit. From what I understand, for the purists that are they're gonna catch shit that you don't, but that doesn't matter. It's not gonna affect your movie going experience in any way. No.
All
right,
very very fun movie. Yeah. Okay,
all right, that's gonna do it. So that puts the nail in the coffin of the Iron Giant episode, and you can join us in 2 weeks on YouTube for the Rubber episode.
Discussion of a killer tire that blows people's heads up with psychic powers.
That 2011
killer tire with psychic powers. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
See you then.
See you.
Have a good evening.
That was probably a much more